he speaks about, as it says in the Kriya Shema, that you must love God with all your heart and all your soul. Meaning even to give your life. What does it mean with all your heart? That means with your full capacity, every aspect of your emotion. We know that emotion is based on lies in the heart. Feeling is the heart. What drives a person is feeling, what you're attracted to. The Talmud tells us that the einayim, the eyes, are sursurei halev. The eyes are the brokers of the heart. What does it mean, the eyes are the brokers of the heart? The heart lusts, and the eyes seek out what the heart lusts. So therefore, the eyes are the brokers of the heart. So what lusts, what desires, what turns a person in a certain direction? It's what he experienced on his emotional level, in his heart. Whatever you value in your heart, that will take you in a certain direction. But if a person is confined to a location where there's nothing available to satisfy that, what happens? The interest is lost. I'll give you an example.
Lower.
A person is a collector of antiques or masters, and there's only one such master in existence, and somebody has it, and it's not for sale. As much as you desire, you give it out to a broker to try to purchase it on your behalf. And as many attempts as you've done, it fell on deaf ears. The one who owns it doesn't want to sell. And for years, he doesn't want to sell. Most people, because they'll give up, not understanding it's not for sale, they lose interest. So if they lose interest, the eyes are no longer, the broker is no longer looking for that particular master to purchase. He's only purchasing because he represents the buyer. But if the buyer has lost interest, there's nothing for the broker to broker. If the person's on a desert island, what do you lust? Could you lust sin? And he's all by himself on that desert island. You can't lust anything. Because lusting is only, it's foolishness, it's frustration. It's not within your reach, it's not within your capacity. So what do? The heart will only desire what it has relevance to in that context of being on the desert island. You know, you may lust coconuts and mangoes. They grow wild on the island. More than that, you can't. So if the heart has love for Hashem, and you consume with that love, what do the eyes seek out? Any opportunity to be able to express that love to God. It's speaking his praises, disseminating his perspectives, whatever it may be. How could Avram take on the world single-handedly? Nothing could deter him. Because his love was so overwhelming, and he was so consumed by the love, he was unstoppable. The only way he could stop him was by killing him. That's the only way. But because he had divine protection, he couldn't be stopped. The 4 kings who had taken Lot captive debate Avram because they thought he was some kind of fanatic who would actually do anything, even give his life. And that's exactly what they wanted him to do. He should go to battle and be killed because they had enough of this dissemination of monotheism because they were all pagans. But little did they know that his backer was God himself. And as a result of that, he was the victor. He vanquished the 4 mightiest kings. But what drove him? What drove him was his love for God. That's what drove him. Therefore, he was unstoppable. And the child, you do anything. But if you overwhelm the child with that love, there's no breathing room for the child to develop on his own. You have to take a few steps back to give that space for the child to develop on his own. So love has to have relevance also to be rational. All the great people who loved God, they were rational people. Except because of the value of what they understood, They were consumed by it, but everything was within a rational context. The person who doesn't understand, he says, you're irrational. It's like this person used to refer to me as, I'm a provincial Jew. Because if you don't believe in God, you're provincial. Rabbi, you're narrow-minded because you don't accept my position. So you're narrow. I accept anything. I'll consider anything, even though no existence of God. And you wouldn't consider that. That means I'm narrow, he's broad-minded. Except this guy who's so-called broad-minded, he will only entertain only what he considers. Anything outside of that, he wouldn't even consider. So what's narrow, what's broad? If you study Tehillim, the psalmist was David HaMelech, King David. So he's referred to in the certain circles of Jews. He was a harpist. He played a harp, musician. I don't know if he went to Juilliard to learn how to play that harp. He was a harpist. The harp was only the way he actually expressed his feeling. He played that harp specially with that love for Hashem. And therefore, what was expressed through that harp, there was nothing which was the equivalent of what was expressed through the harp. It's interesting. The harp, how many strings did the harp have? Did it have 8 strings? Did it have 10 strings? Did it have 8 strings? In the future, the harp is going to have 10 strings. We always speak about the number 8. What is the number 8? 8 is always supernatural. Natural is 7. The world was created within 7 days. It was a 7-day process. 8 is supernatural. That supersedes, that's beyond the 7. There were 8 strings to David's harp. Everything that he was about and what he touched was beyond natural. It was out of the realm of natural. Is it normal for a person to give up all his physical amenities and comforts for the sake of God? People would say it's a little too much. It's a little too much. What's it too much? When a person's holding at the $1 trillion mark, nobody says that's too much. When it comes to material is never too much. Unless he's a glutton, unless he's a hedonist where he doesn't behave properly. But if he behaves properly, when it comes to material, it's never too much. When it comes to spirituality, it's too much. Enough is enough. Where are you going with this? People believe they have children who become observant. They believe they're going off the deep end. I once said, King Solomon, the wise man who ever lived, says, you laugh when you're supposed to laugh and you cry when you're supposed to cry. There's a time to laugh, there's a time to cry. That's King Solomon. Ace livkos, ace litzchok. There's a time to cry, there's time to laugh. Let me ask you, do I need the wisest man in existence to tell me that there's a time to laugh and there's time to cry? Something tragic happens, one cries. Something very positive happens, it's time to laugh. So why do I need the wisest man who ever lived to tell me this simple understanding of these emotions when they were expressed? There's time to cry and time to laugh. There's an expression, life's not about money. That's not what it's about. Person is born with an ingenious IQ. And he becomes a gambler, a card shark. He makes more money gambling than people would make if they be in Forbes 500. They say, the man. Look how successful he is. You consider that a success? It's tragic that he's using the genius that he's endowed with, and it's expended on being a gambler. He could have taken that genius and be a doctor and provided services for humanity, come upon many good things that he would have been an asset to humanity. What kind of asset is he now? Being a gambler. He lives in the casino and he'll die in a casino. That's tragic. There's a time to cry, there's a time to laugh. Another person, becomes a research scientist. I'm using in the secular. And at best, he's getting a stipend, making ends meet. Say, with that genius. But what he may discover is going to be something phenomenal. He's better off doing something else. There's no time to laugh, there's no time to cry. That's a time to rejoice. That he's using that time, because everything's not money. Everything is what the essence of the value is. So how do you evaluate something, whether it's cry or to laugh? It's based on, firstly, circumstance, and it's based on perspective. You have one perspective, it's tragic. You have another perspective, this is the ultimate success. In the Tsarist government, you can only be a part of the government, a minister, if you converted to Christianity. You cannot be, it was known, Disraeli, who was the foreign minister for Queen Elizabeth. He was a Jew, a Sephardic Jew. He converted to Christianity. Because the only way he was able to become part of the British government, he had to convert. And he converted. But you know what that means? The sun doesn't set on the what's it called? I can't hear.
The British Empire.
No, it doesn't say that. What the flag was called? Something Jack, right?
Union Jack. I think.
Union Jack. Yeah, the sun doesn't set on the Union Jack. Whether it's India, wherever you are, you know what it means to be the foreign minister over. There's an empire. British colonized everything, the world. But you know what he did? He gave up his soul, sold his soul to the devil for this. That's the time to cry. Other people say it's phenomenal. Look what he accomplished. What did he give up? Gave up some kind of archaic religion. Look what he has. He's in the seat of power. There's a time to cry. There's a time to laugh. So everything's based on evaluation, based on perspective, based on values and beliefs. And that determines whether it's time to cry or time to laugh. That's what life's all about. The Rambam writes, we had in Laws of Deus, in how a person has to conduct himself, that you should always take the derech hamamutza, the shvil azov, the golden path, is the equidistant path from both extremes. That's what it is. Does that mean say, don't be too religious, don't give too much charity, don't study so much? Is that what the Rambam's speaking about? Because it's not the shvil azov. You're an extreme person. You study 18 hours a day. Why don't you study equal time? 6 hours on the tennis court and 6 hours in the base medrash. That's the shvil, equal time. But all the time in the study hall, studying Torah. No, you only have 70 years to live. You might as well live the life for yourself. Why only for God? That's pretty extreme. Rambam's not talking about that. Rambam's speaking about one's attributes, one's characteristics. In those attributes and characteristics and predilections, you should not be on an extreme level. Why? Because one's behavior has a tremendous influence on the way we process things, on the way our perspectives. For instance, person's naturally miserly. He's withholding. And somebody comes to him for a charitable donation, and he presents it in a very cogent way, why it's so important. When this man is speaking, because he's off to the left, charity-wise, as he's listening to this man, even before he comes, he's already put up 90,000 roadblocks, reasons why this is not for him. He's already poked holes in it. He's already down on it, why this is a cause he doesn't want to support or not worthy to support. That's only because he doesn't have a natural sense of giving. What about he's a spendthrift? He has an open hand. Before the man comes, before he makes his pitch, he's already given his money. That's not the way you give charity. You have to be rational. What's rational? Rational is being balanced. What's balanced? Where your emotion doesn't play on your intellect. Where you're in the equidistant point. That's the Shvil Azov. You're in that center point. Now you can make a decision, an intelligent decision, because your emotion is not playing and drawing you in either direction because you're in that center point. So your intellect will dictate exactly how you should do. Is it worthy or is it not worthy? Based on your value system, may not be. Or on the other hand, based on your value system, it's something that definitely should be supported. But you don't have all the reasons not to give, and you don't have all the reasons to give, although you haven't even heard what you're supporting. But everything's vain. If you don't see life, the material is vain, that means you're not seeing it right. Then you cry over spilt milk where you can't make a difference. You cry over things which it's not worthy to cry. It's not worth getting distracted with. The Gemara tells us at the end of Sanhedrin, Chizkiyahu, the king of Judah, he was the king right before we went to the Babylonian exile. His father was an evil man who was a king. And when he became king, he was a tzaddik. Chizkiyahu, he was such a tzaddik that God was considering making him that he should be Mashiach. That he should be Mashiach. He should be the Messiah. He was the descendant of the Davidic line. He should be Mashiach. What did he do so special? It says when he came to power, he took a sword and he took a Sefer Torah, and he gave the people an ultimatum. Either you live by the Torah or you can be pierced by the sword. So basically, he wasn't giving much a choice. Within 2.5 years, all women and children were proficient in the laws of spiritual purity from Dan to Beersheba throughout Israel. In 2.5 years, the grapes on the vine in the vineyards were rotting. Jews valued Torah to such a degree, they didn't even go out bother picking grapes. It's being called being penny wise and pound foolish. This is the influence he had. Who ever heard of such a thing? You know how much wine you can make? You know what that inventory would be worth? Worth millions of dollars. You let the grapes rot on the vine. Doesn't make sense. It's living irresponsibly. So what happened? How did God compensate them? Because of all this. When the camp of Sancheriv attacked the Jews with millions and millions of troops, that night, Hashem sent Gabriel, the archangel, wiped out the camp. All of them were destroyed at midnight in one swoop. The next day, the Jews went and they found spoils of war worth fortunes that you could drown in it. So what was the payout? What was the payoff? What was the payout? God says, because you yourselves allowed the grape to rot on the vine, and you would not take off a moment of Torah, because that's ultimately precious, I'll compensate you endlessly over. Now you have all the spoils of war, God just collected. Because Sancheriv's armies, they were destroyed in one swoop. We find that who is the closest student of Moshe Rabbeinu? Yeshua ben Nun. When the Jews sinned with the golden calf, where was Yeshua? Yeshua was at the foot of the mountain waiting for his Rebbe to return. He was in the mount, he was in heaven 40 days and 40 nights. God says to him, go down, your people have become corrupted. Yeshua is there, and his Rebbe comes back. Yeshua is unaware of what's going on in the camp, that the Jews did idolatry. And he says to his Rebbe, he says to Moshe Rabbeinu, I hear all kinds of noise coming from the camp. It's a sound of victory. Says no, it's not victory, it's not loss. It's a sound of what? Of total blasphemy. That's the sound you hear. Yeshua was unaware. He was oblivious to it. How could he be so oblivious to it? The answer is because he was waiting at the foot of the mountain for his Rebbe. The love that he had for his Rebbe, he was negated to his Rebbe to such a point. Every word that came out of his Rebbe's mouth was valued to the nth degree. If he could not tear himself away from the foot of the mountain, he was waiting with bated breath for his Rebbe to return. That's what he was at the foot of the mountain, what he was waiting for. He'd say, it's a bit too much. If you understand who Moshe Rabbeinu is, there's no such thing as a bit too much. So Rambam writes, Eino oev HaKadosh elo b'das sheyedu. God endows us with intelligence. What is the value of that intelligence? To know him. To know him. Ba'pi hadas tiyavo. And based on the level of intelligence, das, that discretional intelligence, to that degree you will love him. Give you an example. Person has no interest in material. Person says, you know something? There's a restaurant, 5-star, has the best kosher certification, best chef in the world. They won endless awards. How would you like to come with me to that restaurant? Meals on me. I'll pick up the tab. The man he's speaking to has no relevance to material, has no interest in that, because every moment he invests in Torah. You say that to the Chofetz Chaim. Chofetz Chaim says, thank you, but no thank you. I have no interest whatsoever. Why? But this other person, if he be invited to had that offer, he'd grab it immediately. Because that's something he loves. That's something he wants. Chofetz Chaim has no interest in that. And many other people have no interest in that. So when we say God endowed a person with intelligence and discretion to be able to know him, and based on that knowing, that will determine to what degree you love him. That is the value. Because once you love God and you revere him, there's no stopping. It's an upward motion. With a fierceness you go forward. We have in Mishnah Pirkei Avos, Havi Asken Omer, Havi Gibar Kari, Havi Asken Omer. You should be strong like a lion and fierce as a leopard. Rotz Kitzvi, Kal Kanesher. All these various things. Power, swiftness, speed. What is this all about? That's what the Jew has to be. In every area of your life, we have to be stronger like a lion. No temptation should be overwhelming. You should be able to contend with every temptation. Askanomer, the times you have to speak up, and you don't want to speak up. You're as fierce as that leopard. You're swift as what? As the eagle. Or you run as what? As the deer. In every aspect, fully engaged, fully invested. What's that all based upon? To that degree and not to that degree. It's based on the ava. It's based on the intensity of that love. The more intense the love is, the broader the love is, the more you're there. The less, you're not there.